Today's question is, how do the holes get in the bagels? And I'm very excited about this question because we finally got a question about bagels. Finally, a Kabbalistic, metaphysical, nature of the universe question. Okay, let's start answering our question. As I'm sure you are all aware, the bagel represents physicality, and the hole represents the absence of physicality, which we call spirituality. You might want to call it the holiness, pun intended. Okay, here's how I understand the question. How did Hashem Almighty create the physical universe and everything in it? Did he start with the nothing and then create the something? Or did he start with the something and then add the nothing? In other words, is the hole in the bagel the absence of the bagel? Or is the bagel part the absence of the whole part? So you'll say, Rabbi, that's a fascinating question, but what difference does it make?
Who cares?
Well, the reason why it makes a difference is because that which is more real can create something which is less real. And something that is less real cannot create something that is more real. Let's do an example. When a person dreams, what they dream about is not as real as they are. On the reality totem pole, you're up here and your dream is below you. So you can dream a character in a dream, you can create them. However, the character in the dream cannot create you who is dreaming about them. Hashem is the very definition of reality. He's the most real anything can be. Truth with a capital T. So Hashem is the top of the reality totem pole. And everything that Hashem created is less real, but in a vertical spectrum. The things closest to Hashem are more real than the things further away from Hashem. People can choose to be super spiritual. So let's say we're up here, whereas an apple, awesomely nutritious, but would be lower on the spectrum, lower on the totem pole. So spirituality, which is closer to Hashem than physicality, can create physicality, but pure physicality, which is further away from Hashem, cannot create spirituality. So the absence of physicality, which is spirituality, is closer to Hashem than physicality is. Okay, now we're getting ready to get back to bagels. Just before we do, a fun fact about bagels. Because everybody's in a rush all of the time these days, so some people don't have time for a bagel and a separate cup of coffee for breakfast. Never fear. In 2007, an American molecular scientist and coffee shop owner created the buzzed bagel. It's a bagel that contains the caffeine equivalent of 2 cups of coffee. Indeed. Right, back to our question. Our question was, how do the holes get in the bagels? Based on what we said so far, it must be that the hole, which represents the absence of physicality, is more real than the bagel part, which represents the physicality. Therefore, the way you create a bagel is to start with the hole, that's the nothing part, and then create the bagel part, that's the something part. In other words, the way to create a bagel is to start with no physicality and then add physicality. The hole exists first. Remember, the lack of physicality is more real than the actual physicality. And then the bagel part, the physical bit, which is the absence of the hole, is created. See? Simple. And just on the 1% off chance that the question really was literally about holes in bagels, the answer is you just poke a hole in the dough with your finger. It's really not that difficult.